Hi, my name's Stephen Tremew, I'm the marketing manager at Maxwell Stephens Recruitment. Today, what I'm going to be doing is talking you through a simple step-by-step guide on how to create a professional headshot at home without the need to spend hundreds of pounds for a professional photographer. So the picture that you use for things such as your LinkedIn profile, for example, or maybe on your CV, they can have quite a large impact on people's first impressions. So it's important to get them right and make sure you consider what kind of impression you're giving off with the picture that you use. So that's why we thought we'd put together this really quick and basic tutorial just to help you create a headshot which might be more effective. So for the first step, it may seem like an obvious one, but you really need to put some consideration into actually taking the photo. So there's a few things that you need to think about. Initially, try and get hold of a high resolution camera or a good camera. Preferably it should be at least 2 megapixels, which pretty much all cameras are now. It's even on your mobile phone. Most mobile phones nowadays have a pretty decent camera which should be able to do the job. But if you can, try and get a high quality, high resolution camera. What you need to do, this step is quite vital for later on, is to try and take the photo in front of a blank background. So preferably something like a white wall would be perfect, but anything where there's not much going on in the background, which will make it easier to edit what's happening behind you. So try not to take a photo in front of things like patterned wallpaper, or if there's lots of pictures and things going on behind you, that's going to make it more difficult later on. In terms of your position and posture and things like that when you're taking the picture, think of it as an old school photo. So preferably it'd be best if you sat down, sit with your knees at a 45-degree angle to your body, face forward. So you're at a slight angle, but you're facing forward, and that should give you the best pose for a headshot picture. And finally, make sure that the area that you're in is well lit, so no backlight. This will put your face in shadow and make it harder to see. Try and have some natural light if possible, but make sure you're not in direct sunlight either. So we're basically trying to get a nice even lighting across your whole face, not too dark, not too bright, and that again will make the later steps in editing your picture much easier. So once we've taken the photo, we're going to get on to actually editing it. And for this, we're going to use an online photo editor. It's called Pixlr. It's basically a slimmed down free version of Photoshop. So in order to get to that, it's pixlr.com/e. Once you get the dashboard, click Open Image and find the image that you've just taken and saved onto your system. You click Open, and then there you'll see your image will come up in the main screen there. So the very first thing that we need to do, as you can see at the moment, this is a bit big for a headshot, so we need to crop the image down. So on the left hand side are all these tools. It looks a bit complicated to begin with, but we're only going to be using a few of them. So we're going to click on crop, and then we can click in the top corners and drag to the point where we can resize the image. So for a headshot, a good rule of thumb is to have it just above the chest at the bottom, just wider than shoulder width, and just above the head. Should give you, that's probably a standard size and positioning for a headshot picture. So once you're happy with that, you click apply, and there we go. So the image is cropped to an appropriate size for us to continue editing. So the next step in the process is actually editing the background of your image. For this, we're going to be using several tools in Pixlr. So if you follow what I'm doing on screen step by step, it shouldn't be too hard. So what we need to do first, depending on your background, is either brighten it up, make it a bit darker, depending on what you want your picture to look like. You want the foreground to stand out and the background to be more plain, maybe a pastel colour. So what we're going to do initially with this, we're going to use a very good tool for anyone who's used Photoshop or any image editing software, it's called the magic wand, the wand select tool on the left hand side. What this does is basically when you click any area of your picture, it'll select pixels around it that are a same or similar colour. So if I was to click on the background, and this is based on the tolerance that you see at the top. So basically, the lower the tolerance, the fewer pixels it'll select. So the higher that number, the more it'll select of your picture. So it's on 32 at the moment. When I click the background, you can see it's selected all the background, but it's also selected a bit of my shirt, which isn't what we want. So what I'm going to do is go up to the tolerance number, and I'm going to slightly turn that down. So hopefully this time, when we click the background, it will, there we go. So here you can see it's only selected the background and left my shirt off. There are a couple of little spots by my face that I just want to tighten up. So to do that, I hold down Shift and click again. So this clicks other areas in addition to the area you've already selected. So I'll click there, and I click on the right hand side, and then that narrows the selection down and puts it flush, so it's just the background. Once we've got the background selected, you can either delete it there and make it a transparent picture, or what we can do is we can adjust the area that we've got selected to make it brighter or adjust the contrast. There's lots of different adjustments we can do. So here I'm going to click on adjustment and change the brightness and contrast. So here you can see that we're brightening up the background, and we may also want to change the contrast basically reduces the difference between the light and the dark in the background. So once you've got the background how you want it, then if you click in the grey area outside the picture, that'll deselect the background, and then now you can adjust the brightness and contrast of the entire picture. So this will help maybe if the lighting wasn't great in the room that you took the picture, or if you just need to brighten it up a bit. So again, go to adjustment, the brightness and contrast, and you can see you can preview how changing these two numbers will affect your final picture. So using the sliders. So again, once you're happy with that, you click apply. But if we look at the adjustment, there's loads of different things that you can do just to adjust your picture. So if it's things like maybe the picture's a bit washed out or you look a bit pale, you can change the saturation levels. You can change the lightness or how much colour is in the picture. So there's lots of different things that you can play around with just to adjust the settings in the picture and maybe brighten it up. So play around with the adjustment settings until you're happy with the picture. So the next thing we're going to do is actually change the shape of the image. This isn't something you have to do, but it makes it quite useful for things like if you think of the LinkedIn profile that's in a circular image, even for things like Facebook, they use circular images a lot of the time. It does add a slight touch of professionalism to the picture. So you can choose to do this if you like. So we're going to change the shape of the picture into a circle. So to do this, we need to go onto the selection tool on the left hand side, which is like a rectangle, a dotted rectangle, and at the top you'll see you can change it to a circle or an ellipse as it's called. So you click and drag the area and try and get the main focal point, your face and shoulders, your head and shoulders into the middle of the circle, and try and make sure the width and height are the same. Now what we need to do is we need to select this area outside of the circle and delete it. To do this, we click on the select option and we invert the selection so that instead of having this circle highlighted, it circles the area all around it. So once we've done that, we click delete, and there we go. We've got the plain circle shape for the picture. So this final step is for those people who are feeling really confident with the software, and maybe you want to have much more of a play around with the picture, and this is basically airbrushing your photo. So if there's little blemishes or little imperfections that you can see and you just want to change slight things about your picture, this is how you're going to go about doing it. I'm going to show you an example of what we can do. As I said before, there's a lot of different tools and things that we can use on this Pixel R editor. So I might want to slightly change some of the colouring on my face. So to do this, we need to select it's called the eyedropper tool, or the picker. So this picks a colour based on the area that you select. So I want to click some of the background, and then I'm going to click on the paintbrush option, and up the top we can change the type of brush that we're using. So I'm going to click on that, and there's all these different options. So I'm going to make the paintbrush slightly larger, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, because I think that my hair's a little bit one-sided, a little bit off on the picture, I'm going to try and trim down some of my hair on the left hand side. Isn't perfect, but you can see what I mean. So you can do a lot of trial and error, and you can test a lot of different options out. What I also may want to do, so I can use this combination of the paintbrush and the colour selector tool to even maybe add a little bit of colour on my face or to certain areas. So what I've done here is selected a brush, and I've turned the opacity right down, which basically means when I paint on it, it'll be much more see-through. It's going to be a much subtler application of colour onto the picture. So this could be good for things if you want to get rid of dark circles under your eyes and things like that. I'm going to zoom, so you can zoom right in just by scrolling your mouse forward or clicking on view and zoom in. And again, I'm going to try and get rid of some of the darkness under my eyes. So I select a colour which is nearby, and then you may not be able to tell initially, but I'm clicking and dragging, applying the paintbrush ever so slightly, a bit at a time. You can't quite tell, so I'll just turn up the opacity. Try it again, and you can see it's starting to slightly smooth them out. I'll do the same on the left hand side. Again, it's very subtle, so you can make these changes as obvious or subtle as you want. And then if there's any blemishes or discolorations and things that you want to change, you can do that. Again, I'm going to use the eyedropper tool, the colour selector tool, and the brush. If the lighting has created a shine off your face, you can use it to get rid of that. So you can do a bit of airbrushing there. So these techniques, it's quite a useful skill to learn, because you can apply these to any images and things. And then that's it. So your image, your professional headshot is ready to go. So we suggest basically having a play around with this online software, Pixel R. Try all the different adjustments and just try and get it to a point that you're happy with the image. And learning this software can be really useful. Learn some basic skills to help you with image editing for other images. So hopefully you found this tutorial of help. You feel confident to go out and create your own professional headshot. And if you follow this step-by-step guide, you should be able to do just that. Good luck.